along with the link is they put, how about we change the idea of tipping from being generous to if you tip very little or can't tip, don't ask for service. And I know that there are people who feel this way, just because, like it's saying, food app couriers rely on tips, but customers are no longer feeling generous. In my personal experience, it's never really as cut and dry as saying that the customers aren't feeling generous. And to be honest with you, customers don't owe us tips. I mean, the reason why they're getting the service is because they have a need for the service. So maybe they can't afford, you know, to have a vehicle to go pick up items. Maybe it's too far. There could be many different reasons, but the idea of them having to tip, it doesn't really make a lot of sense, because it's like if you go anywhere, you don't require like if you were to go out and go buy some electronics, if the person who's selling you the electronics said, and I'm gonna need you to tip me after you buy this electronics, you'll probably look at them like you're out of your mind, you know. And it's obviously a different situation. Electronics isn't the same thing as food, but you're still getting a service. So like it's just to kind of give you an idea. But here's what I want to get at. So the idea is, and this is what I've come to find. So like this is plenty of experience that I've had to be able to understand. So I did my homework before to understand a lot of the dynamics of how to make things more worthwhile. If you provide a good enough service, good enough quality, you do the right things, whether that's you follow instructions properly, you have a sunny disposition, you do certain things, it's gonna make them want to be able to compensate you. If they can, they will, as long as you do your job. If you exceed what your job is telling you, then you can expect bigger tips, not guaranteed, but you can expect bigger ones. In my experience, that's what happens. Very consistent amount of tips usually would come out. So if people aren't tipping, it's either you did something wrong, they didn't have the resources to be able to give you the tip, or they feel like there's a little bit extra that you could have done.
People you negotiate with in work and in life to meet you halfway, one powerful answer involves reciprocity. So before we get into that, I just want to let you guys know there is something called the law of reciprocity. It's the best way to look at it is, the idea is that if you give to somebody, that they feel more I guess willing to want to do something back for you. It's kind of like give and take, you know. If you offer somebody a gift at at holiday season time, to exchange gifts, then the person who received the gift is more likely to also want to give you a gift. It's basically the same. So I recently stumbled upon an old psychology study that found that by giving customers an after dinner mints, waiters and waitresses could increase their tips. According to the report authors, previous studies have found that briefly touching one's customers, squatting during the initial contact, making additional non-task visits, and displaying maximal smile when introducing oneself have all correlated with increased tip amounts. So you guys can find the you guys can read the rest of the you can read the rest of this at Forbes.com. But I just wanted to touch on real quick that the idea is that, think of it this way: in any type of anything, but we'll take a look at jobs, we'll take a look at sports, anything. There's always going to be a number one spot, and there's always going to be everything that falls after the number one spot. There are going to be the people who are going to be doing really good at a job. There are going to be people who fall underneath the people who are doing really good at the job, and it's like that with anything. Anything that you can think of, especially when you think of things as being professional, things of that nature. Like you might have a certain company that you deal with, and you deal with them because in your mind they're number one at what they do. Maybe they're not necessarily number one in terms of what stereotypically overall people think of number one, but there's something that they do that's number one to you, which is why you go to them. Nobody goes to some place that they hope to get bad service or bad product or things of that nature. They go there getting what either they expect, or it exceeds what they expect. Okay, so You need to realize is that the people who typically get more tips, they've either studied or they've naturally been doing certain things that customers enjoy. It makes the experience that much better. Like think about it this way: most customers, when
when they when they're ordering food, in their minds they just want to get their food in one piece. They want to be able to get it in a timely manner because they're hungry. But at the same time, in the background in their mind, they kind of want the same experience that they see in the commercial. You see certain things in the commercial, you see how it's served up in a certain way. They're expecting to a degree that they're going to be getting kind of like the same idea as if they were to go pick up the items themselves. They want it to be as fresh as possible. So that means if it's supposed to be hot, when they get it, they want it to be hot, aka you have an insulated bag that keeps it hot. If it's supposed to be cold, they want it to be cold. They don't want it to be melted ice cream or anything of that nature. So again, the insulated bag, you know, they want it to be whole, so they don't want it to be all torn apart. So again, the isolated bag or the insulated bag can help with that as well. But just taking care, making sure that you're not speeding while you're driving your car, so it's not tossed all over the place. You know, not making sure that like it's all ripped into pieces, making sure that there's not pieces missing out of it, bite marks and all that type of stuff. Like you want to be as professional as possible, but like showing that you have a human side as well. It's kind of like a soft skill, but if you've had skills or if you had experience in customer service, then more often than not, that's one of the places where you'll excel is if you're able to transition any experience you had in customer service with this job as well. But it's again it's an all-around job. Is we can treat it like it's like delivering your newspaper, where you just chuck the newspaper to somebody's front door from their driveway, or you could be that person who goes and actually brings the newspaper to the door. For all you know, the person who accepts the paper likes to be handed it to it. Maybe they're even sitting on their porch. It's little touches like that, right? So that's just what I wanted to touch on for you guys is uh, there's just the little small touches. If people have money, which oftentimes they will, sometimes they won't, but oftentimes they will. It's just you have to do a certain thing. Even if you get like let's say for example, and this sounds like kind of like a you know kind of like a slap in the face, but it's not really. If you get even a penny as getting a tip, if you got any type of tip, just know that you're doing the right things. It's a hint that you're doing the right things. Because if somebody really didn't want to give you a tip, they wouldn't give you anything. If you got a penny, they probably either didn't have enough money or they weren't planning on giving a tip anyway, but because of the fact that, you did something that made them want to give a tip. That's what you should focus on, and then maybe there's a little something extra you can do to kind of sweeten the pot so that people are like more willing to want to give more tips. But typically, if you get any type of tip whatsoever, no matter what it is, you're doing the right things. Continue doing that or try to improve upon what you're doing. But since you're on the right track, okay. So that's the end of that. I'm gonna let you guys kind of sit with that, and hopefully that helps to give you a little light bulb moment where you kind of figure out how it is that you can make a little bit more money in this gig economy. And with that, we'll see you guys in the next video.